Hello and welcome. I'm here today with the KLIM TurboFrost gaming laptop cooler. Now KLIM was very nice to send this over, so thank you very much for that. I really appreciated you providing this product for me to review. Everything you hear is going to be my own. I did not have to get any copy approval, and of course this was provided to me courtesy of KLIM. So thank you very much for that. So this TurboFrost features two fans here up to 16,000 RPM. So a lot of airflow. This is a blow style cooler, so it pushes cold air into your laptop to help draw away a lot of the heat there. And this one has 4 USB ports. It is up to 17-inch laptops. You can easily set even an 18-inch laptop on this one, as I did. So, and it worked quite well. It helps to reduce the temperatures quite a bit. Has USB ports, has a full RGB ring light around the perimeter of this device, and has some RGB modes and colors that you can toggle through for matching your RGB setup and your gaming setup. So that said, let's begin with the tour around this device. As soon as you plug this on, it gets the RGB activated. So as you can see here, if I unplug this device, just a barrel type plug, 12 volt wall adapter, nothing major here. You can power it either with this, or you can even use a 5 volt USB type C to power this device as well. So dual mode for power functionality. That's great to see. If you're on the go, you only have a USB type C charger handy. You also get a USB hub here with 3 additional USB type A ports. We'll show you on the back here as well. So let's begin with just a quick tour around this device. So I'll fold this down to its flattened position. This is how it'll come shipped to you. We've got some foam here for sealing off and creating a vacuum with your laptop. So this one particularly is for a 13-inch or 14-inch laptop. And then we've got here the more traditional one for a 15, 16, or even a 17-inch laptop. Now this one is nicely magnetized. It's got these magnets at the corner, so it kind of just snaps in. If you hear, it's actually nice to hear that sound. It's pretty ASMR, if you will. However, I do have a little bit of an issue with the quality of the foam here that's provided. It's already starting to fray here, and I'm not really rough with my my electronics, but this one, I don't know what's happened here. It's starting to kind of peck off. I'm a little concerned about the overall longevity of the foam, but overall the device is pretty good. So this one here, it's all plastic construction, no metal on board here, except for the stand. We'll look at that in just a moment. On the front of this device here, I've got a few different things to show you. So you've got slots here. You can plug in these slots that are provided. Unfortunately, I've misplaced mine, so I can't find them to demo to you now. But when you insert these slots, they'll basically hold your laptop from sliding off from the desk. In addition, we've got few buttons up at the front here. So this one here is the RGB mode. We've got RGB colors next to that, an LCD display to see your RPM and other modes, etc. We've also then got here plus and minus for the RPM on the fans, and finally a power on and off switch. And if we look at the sides of this device here, it's pretty much flat. There's nothing really to hype about there. It's pretty empty, just basic plastic. On the back though, as I mentioned just a moment ago, we do have, in addition to the the AC barrel plug, we also have a USB type C port that you can use here for 5 volt connectivity to power this device. So dual mode power, as I mentioned. And we've got these 3 additional USB type A ports, so you can use those to plug in your mouse or any of your USB 3 peripherals. And on the bottom of this device here, not much, except we've got a removable here. This is a little bit stiff to get out, so you have to dig in there. But this is for the exhaust fan. You can use this to clean out the screen and to prevent any or remove any dust that may have built up over time. If we turn to the side here, I think this is where most of the fun is. So this device has different angles for tilting up on your desktop. So first of all, it can go quite high by itself, but it doesn't have the ability to stand at this level. So what's offered here is a built-in stand. Now, this is one of the gripes I have about this cooler, is that these pop out quite easily if you push from one direction. You have to be quite careful and quite gentle how you approach them. And they're a little bit annoying to put back on. So I would love for the next iteration of this device to have this fixed so it doesn't pop out quite so easily. But as you can see here, there's grooves here which allow you to select different height positions for adjusting when you have your laptop on top of this device. Very nice to see that you can adjust your laptop, particularly if you have one of those 180-degree screens. You can tilt it all the way up, lift your screen up and adjust it to perhaps match or align with the height of your overall laptop and your desktop monitor. So nice to see that setup option is available. This is the next step down. Go down a little bit further here, and then the farthest step down is like so. I like this position because it still allows for lots of airflow, because there's enough space here for this thing to suck in air and push air at the bottom of your laptop. However, it's not going to be so high if you have a big or large laptop that it's going to start to bend those pins at the front here, or start to slide the foam and bend it off the device itself. So you'll have to kind of test and see with your laptop which works for you. let's get this device powered on now. We'll give you a demo of the modes and the buttons on the front, and then finally we'll look at the actual performance and the noise of this device, put a gaming laptop on here, show you what it runs without having a laptop cooler like this, throw it on this laptop cooler, and then show you what the difference is in the cooling capacity of this KLIM TurboFrost. And as soon as we plug it in here, you can see it wants to activate, so the device turns on and the RGB kicks in. Let's turn this off for a moment so we can talk, because it does get quite noisy at the high end. It ranges from 1500 RPM at the lowest level all the way up to 4000 RPM. Gets quite loud, about 60 decibels or so, as you'll see a little bit later. Now, going through the buttons here, so I'm going to turn this on, but keep the fan at the lowest setting so it doesn't distract us too much. All right, so you can see here a nice display there. If we go through the modes here, you can do various different effects with the RGB. So you'll start to get blinking, and you'll start to get just either a breathing effect. There's also a walking effect, and there's also this kind of dance disco effect. I don't know what to call that. And then there's a slow kind of morphing light around the ring, and you can use this here to choose different colors, blue, depending on the mode you're in. This will do actually different things, but it's nice to see that that option is provided there. I quite like this mode here, if I can get to it. Yeah, I quite like this mode here. It's kind of interesting. All right, then on to the left of this screen here, to the left of the screen here, we've got two buttons, plus and minus. So plus increases the RPM all the way up to 4000 max. And then, as I mentioned, at the lowest end, 1500 RPM is the lowest setting for this device. And of course, to the left of that, we have a power on and off switch. With the device plugged in, the RGB stays on. All right, before we get into an actual comparison with the laptop itself and with being on the laptop cooler, I'm going to talk about what the setup is here. So I've got here, this is the Asus ProArt P16. This is the latest, the 2024 model with AMD Zen 5 inside. It's a fantastic CPU. We'll have to talk about that separately. But this here is running FurMark, and we can see here this isn't a hot laptop in general, because Asus has done a fantastic job here with tuning. Of course, power limits are quite constrained, as you can see here about that CPU and GPU. We'll talk about those things in the review of this video coming very soon. Please stay tuned for that. But let's say here we're running this here, and we're seeing temperatures of about 70 degrees on the CPU and about 75 degrees on the GPU. Not the hottest laptop out there, but it should be sufficient to demonstrate what happens when we use the KLIM laptop cooler, how much it can actually further reduce the actual heat from your device and help to boost the actual performance with the clocks, etc., and the power levels to your CPU, and both, of course, to your GPU. So I'll pause for a moment here. You guys can take a look at with the decibel meter what the sound level is. This is running in performance mode. This is the highest mode you can run with the Asus Armory Crate, shy of using the manual mode and configuring power levels yourself. This is a pre-built mode. Let's have a listen. So definitely audible, about 47 decibels, not the quietest laptop around, but also not the loudest. It's not going to break your ears or ruin your overall gaming experience if you don't have a nice pair of headphones handy. So let's power on the KLIM cooler here. We're going to use it at 1500, or rather 2000 RPM, which is about halfway with the device. I'll place this, and you'll also notice here that there is when a vacuum forms, it's audible, the difference. So I'll move this into frame here. And listen for the vacuum. So it quiets down the actual ambient noise in the environment further, because it actually helps create a suction with these foam padding, and then it draws the air, it pushes the air at the laptop to help cool it, instead of drawing it away with a vacuum to suck the air away. So it's a little bit of a different approach, not a bad approach, but just something different and to keep in mind. So we'll draw this over here so you guys can see. Let's put it here. We'll leave the decibel meter there, move the mouse out of the way here. So we see here at 2000 RPM, there's been very little change overall to the actual noise levels in the environment. We're sitting still at about 46 to 47 decibels. We'll take a peek at those temperatures in a moment and see what the change has been. We'll give it a minute or two for it to help draw the air away. If in fact you could say that there's been a 2 to 3 decibel reduction in the noise levels in the ambient environment because you've created that vacuum seal. So running at about 2000 RPM on the KLIM laptop cooler, we're getting temperatures of about 70 degrees on the CPU and about 75 degrees on the GPU. That CPU is running quite low, but we've got about 103, 102 watts running to that 4070 in this device. And if you look at the noise level, it is indeed a little bit further reduced, about 45 decibels. Now we'll crank up the KLIM laptop cooler. We'll go to the next highest setting, which is 2500 RPM. We've now jumped up to about 47 decibels, roughly 48 decibels in some cases. And we're looking at CPU temps now about 67 degrees. And we're looking at the GPU temps of about 72, teetering on 73 in some points, depends on how long the airflow has been running. So we'll hop up the next, another 500 RPM up to 3000. So at about 51 decibels at 3000 RPM on the KLIM laptop cooler, we're seeing temps of 68 degrees Celsius on the CPU and about 73 on the GPU. The GPU isn't moving that much, it's a little bit hard to see, but it is boosting higher. We're seeing about 1900 plus megahertz as opposed to 1800, and we're seeing it touch about 105, even 106 watts, which is the theoretical maximum power level for this laptop that includes the GPU plus that dynamic boost. And that's the maximum we can get out of this ProArt P16. So overall, a pretty good performance here, and let's see what happens when we bump it up another 500 to 3500 RPM. At 3500 RPM, we definitely start to see that we're approaching 52 decibels now on the noise meter, and 3500 RPM is netting us about 68 degrees on the CPU, so perhaps a degree or two cooler. We're also seeing it pop down to 67, and the GPU sitting a degree cooler at 72 degrees centigrade. And finally, we'll pop it into the max mode here, which is 4000 RPM on the KLIM TurboFrost. Okay, and about 4000 RPM, which is the max for the KLIM TurboFrost, we're seeing here nearly 56 decibels, which is quite loud. It starts to get noticeable and to be a hindrance to enjoyment of your music or any gameplay that you may be doing without using any headphones here. So at that point, headphones would be highly advisable. But that said, we are seeing definitely lower temps. The CPU is now sitting at 64 degrees. It's about a 6-degree drop at least from what we saw without the laptop cooler itself. And the GPU is now sitting at nice and cool 70 degrees, often bumping down to 69 degrees. However, if we're going to use this laptop cooler, probably the best idea to keep it under 3000 RPM. So we'll just do a quick demonstration here to show you what I would recommend you should use this laptop at to get a nice balance between the noise level and the cooling effect to get those temperature reductions, and of course better boost to your GPU. So we'll bump down to 3000. So this would be my recommendation here for using the TurboFrost from KLIM. With this setting here at 3000 RPM, you're getting about a 51 decibels. It's noticeable, it's a nice whoosh sound. You see that there's a little bit of airflow in your environment, but it certainly by no means is disturbing, nor will it overpower, especially the internal speakers on this ProArt P16, which is fantastic with those 6 speakers in that sub. That said, we're seeing consistently 1900 plus megahertz with only a 2-degree increase on the actual CPU and GPU temps. I think that's quite worth it for the noise level reduction from well above 56, nearly 57 decibels at the high end, and the full max 4000 RPM. And it's quite a remarkable achievement here for your gaming laptop.